Hello students, I hope I am audible and visible to you all. Quickly drop in a message. Let's see if I'm audible and visible to you all. I can see quite a lot of you have already joined the session. Okay, hi Venya, hi Pranjal. Good to see you all. So we'll wait for some more minutes. We'll wait for some more kids to join in and then we'll begin with the session. Okay, thanks for letting me know that I'm audible and visible. Okay, perfect. So we'll wait for a few more minutes and then we'll begin with the session. Good evening, guys. How are you all doing? I hope you're all studying well. Okay, guys. So let's wait for a few more minutes. Just a minute or two, and then we can begin with the session. We have quite a lot of you joining the session. Very good. Just so you know that I'll be able to. Okay, hi Pratnesh, hi Pratna, hi Shaunak, hi Pranjal, hi Venya. Hi Pankti. And okay, so by the time we start with the session, quickly let me know one important thing. Why are we discussing this today? This thing has come into picture for quite some time now. What is the significance of today? Why is 1st of July so important? Why are we discussing it about the three new criminal laws of India today? So I'm waiting for your comment. Okay. Okay. Venia has dropped in a message. What about others? Drop in a message so that I'll be able to, read it out and we can discuss. Okay, all cases from today will have new law. Okay. Okay. Hi, Mashkura. Shaunak is also here as the bills come into effect today. Okay, so are they bills now or are they acts? Hello. Okay, acts. Wonderful. One more minute and then we will start with the session. Okay, wonderful. So let's start with the session. Let's try to understand why are we discussing. Of course, one important thing that I told you is that these criminal laws, or as you have already mentioned this one thing, that these criminal laws come into picture or are into effect from today. They were introduced in the final session of 2023's Lok Sabha. Now, when I was trying to talk about this was introduced by the Home Minister, that is Amit Shah, and he happened to mention one important thing, that the laws that were made by the Britishers and passed by the British Parliament, and that is where we try to understand these things, that what is this basically. Now, three big structures of India. These three big structures impact every Indian, irrespective you are a minor, irrespective you're a major, irrespective you are a law aspirant, irrespective you are anything. You just need to be a citizen of India. And these legislations, these three acts are the most important one. So I'm hoping I am again audible and visible to you all. So let's just quickly drop in a thumbs up and let me continue with the session. So trying to understand about these three big structures or these three laws. See, in the last 100 years, it is important for us to understand one major thing, that the nature and method of crime along with the criminals have changed drastically. I mean, completely to the level that who would have honestly thought with this idea that cyber crime as an event or as a what do you say, as an act or as a criminal activity would come into picture 100 years ago. Nobody would have thought. And that is one of the reasons why we are discussing this change today. Why are we trying to talk about it? So now, as I told you, when it was introduced in the parliament, it was introduced in this manner that Britishers have made this laws and passed it by the British Parliament. Now, the idea when I try to talk about this, that, Britishers have made, the object behind making these legislation at that period of time was such that we'll make it with the idea to exploit the resources of India, firstly. And secondly, when this was introduced, this was also mentioned that there are 400 places where the word British Crown that has been mentioned. So, which tries to talk about the colonial slavery. Now, we don't live in that era anymore, 75 years, post 75 years of independence. So when I'm trying to talk about all of these things, it is important for us to see this new change, to embrace this new change. Now, to understand these changes, it is important for us to see certain things. Firstly, before understanding these three laws, let's first try to understand the older criminal laws that were there in this country. First one being IPC, or the Indian Penal Code. What was this? Now, it tries to tell you about an act which becomes a crime. So when an act becomes a crime, if it is a crime or not. So for instance, if it is a crime, then what is its punishment? All of these things are defined and informed via this IPC. Then you, excuse me, then you have something called as CrPC. Now, what is CrPC? It tries to talk about the procedure of arrest. It tries to tell us about the investigation process, the bails, and about the bail, about the trial process. All of these things are informed via the Criminal Procedure Code. This procedure, so once your act is confirmed as a crime, and you know for a fact that this is the level of punishment that one may get for this kind of activity, then we go to the step 2 of CrPC, where we try to understand the procedure of this arrest, where we try to understand the procedure of investigation and try to understand the procedure of bail and further trial process. Next, we come to the third element, that is the Law of Evidence or Indian Evidence Act. Now, what is this act? Again, as the name suggests this thing, it talks about the admissibility, burden of proof, experts' opinion. So when the evidence is produced in the court of law, what are the other further process that goes in the picture? So it tries to talk about the expert's opinion. So why is an expert's opinion important? What is the burden of proof for that specific case, and the admissibility of certain things in the court of law? So to give you an example, I'll tell you. Now, for example, a murder takes place. If it is a murder or not, that will be defined or understood via IPC. Firstly. Secondly, how will the person be arrested, or what will be the investigation process further, or how will that investigation be done? That will come under CrPC. And moving ahead, what do we see? The Indian Evidence Act that will try to talk about the admissibility of evidences. That is how this whole structure was there. Now, as I told you, the object behind was what? To exploit Indian resources, and 400 places, major places where we could see that the British Crown, as was mentioned. So, understanding the colonial slavery, we could see one more thing, that these laws were not gender neutral. And the proposed idea is such that these new laws that have come into picture or in effect from today are having actually quite a lot of gender neutral idea. So now to understand this, one important comparative analysis, also a surprise for you guys would be that post this session, I shall be helping you out with a complete analysis of all the three things. So what is it that is important in terms of your CLAT perspective? What are the changes that we have seen? All of that it will be shared with you all. So understanding this, what are we trying to see? That the older law, that is IPC, it had 576 sections. Now, the new, that is Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita. What is this? Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, again replaced or changed with IPC. Is it literally changed? Only the name has been changed? No. The answer is, you will see that the nature, the laws or the crimes have reduced here. Crimes in the sense the codification or sections have reduced a lot. You will see that the current new legislation has 356 sections. Of course, some of them have been replaced, some of them have been repealed, some of them have been completely changed. Understanding this, very controversial section of IPC, that is 124th section, which tries to talk about sedition, is now changed with something else. And that brings to another question that I want you to drop in the comment section to let me know what has it been changed to. Now, understanding the crimes of new era or new world. What are these crimes? And they have been added. Some of them being, firstly, false promise to marry. Okay, now this is another new age crime that has come into picture. Another one being gang rape of women under the age of 18. Next being mob lynching. The next is organized crime or terrorist act that has been there. Apart from this, we are seeing another acts or another sections, sorry, like question paper leak, you have ATM theft, you have Ponzi scheme. All of these things have been strictly recognized, and there have been defined, basically the definition or the punishment for this has become very stronger. Apart from this, we are seeing the idea of terrorism, separatism, armed rebellion against the government. All of these things have also come into picture. So this is very important for us to understand. Now, apart from all of these things, another important thing that you are seeing in forms of punishment, for the first time ever, we have understood this idea that the crime or offenses that were petty in nature. So petty crimes along with defamation, all of these things have fallen into the idea of community services. So, Pradesh, the answer to your question remains no. In stricter sense, in literal senses, the word terminology same to same is not used. Of course, understanding a wider ambit of it, if we try to introduce or take certain things, then it's a different issue. But in literal senses, marital rape is not being included. So moving ahead, when I try to talk about the new age crimes that I was trying to say with regards to BNS. Now coming to the next one, that is CrPC, Criminal Procedure Code. Older section had 484, older law had 484 section. The new law, that is Bharatiya Nagarik Suraksha Sanhita, BNSS. This new law or new legislation has 536 sections. Again, a little more than the older one. So only in IPC, you will see that the acts have been, or the sections have been reduced. In the other two, the sections have been increased. The next one that we start to see is Indian Evidence Act, 167 sections, to the new one, Bharatiya Sakshya Adhiniyam, has had now 170 sections. Apart from this, there is some changes in classification of sedition according to, okay, so one more thing that was being mentioned by Agastya, now I think he's deleted it, but yes, a similarity to that is there. So coming to your sedition again, I want to read it out the section of IPC so that you understand this thing. So section 124 of IPC tries to talk about whoever by words, either spoken or written, or by signs or by visible representation or otherwise, brings or attempts to bring into hatred or contempt, or excites or attempt to excite disaffection towards the government established by law in India shall be punished. This is what our section 124A of IPC mentioned. Although the new law, which is section 150 of the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, is no longer an added, so basically adds reference to what? To the words secession, armed rebellion, and subversive activities and separatist activities. So when these words have been, so this is how it has been replaced. So this is why it may be a little similar. The older one can be a little similar to the new this thing, but then the idea of it has been broadened. Okay. Now, when I try to talk about the older ones, of course, one important question that was, or one important addition that was mentioned at back then, that it is not gender neutral. Now, when I try to talk about the new legislations, they are gender neutral, but from what perspective? From the perpetrator's angles. Okay, so perpetrator's angle, you may see that it is gender neutral. So to give you an example about this, it can be outraging the modesty of a woman. So I would want you to read about this as well. Now, when I try to talk about the old laws, definitely there was a colonial reference that was there, and there was a scattered structure of the legislation. The betterment or the newness in this law is there is a better structure. Crimes have been designed in a very proper manner with good chapters so that it becomes easily accessible for everyone. Similarly, concepts of digitalization or digitization, better forensic understanding, strict timeline for the charges have been mentioned. So the law also mentions one thing: within 3 years of filing of the case, you must get justice. Apart from this, 90 plus 90, which means 180 days within which one is supposed to file the charge sheet. So this is how we try to understand there is a betterment in terms of understanding, in terms of changes. Now that I've talked about the betterment, there is one important thing or certain negative comments as well that has come into picture, and it becomes my duty to try to discuss about that as well. One being, will this be important for my upcoming competitive exam perspective? Yes, to some extent, a little bit. Yes, you must know the crux of the legislation, definitely. Another thing, people are still confused with this idea that who is supposed to follow what. So crimes that take place from today, that is 1st of July 2024, sorry, the crimes that take place from today shall be governed or shall be taken, shall be considered, shall be put in under the 3 new laws, that is BNS, BNSS and BSA, Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, Bharatiya Nagarik Suraksha Sanhita and Bharatiya Sakshya Adhiniyam. Crimes that have taken place earlier to this, where have been fallen under or will be taken, considered by the IPC, CrPC and Indian Evidence Act. Apart from this, the another important issue that has been raised by a lot of people with regards to this is the names of this legislations. So 2 important things that were raised in terms of discussion. One being is the names, simply changing the name shows a lot of dominance of Hindi when we try to talk about the legislation. So no, the response that was provided by the government was such that basically these legislation, the new names are trying to have been put in by the Sanskrit words. Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita comes from the Sanskrit word. Another question that was raised is, can the simple amendment to the existing laws would have sufficed the purpose of it? The again answer given provided by the government was such that no, simply changing or amending the available legislation will not actually help us change the whole crux of it. Reason being, just to give you an example, for example, you have a cloth. Now, this cloth may be torn from multiple places. Simply stitching it or just trying to cut it out, will the texture, will the process, will the same quality of the cloth remain for years and years? The answer remains no. So, understanding the same thing, it is important from the growth of the country to have the new legislation to change it. The third question that has been raised is, with regards to understanding that why not use the same name, that is Bharatiya Danda Adhiniyam. So the reason is, dand by the word means punishment that was introduced by the colonial idea or the Britishers. The current one tries to talk about Nyaya Sanhita, which means it tries to talk about justice. So the major difference that we see here is from punishment perspective to justice perspective. So what we are trying to do here is, with this new legislation, we are trying to have a very positivist approach rather than from only punishing the perpetrators. So that is another thing. The third one being, of course, one important thing that we need to understand in terms of is the government equipped with all of these things? In the forthcoming years, we will be equipped with a lot of things that have been mentioned in the current legislation. But then at the moment, it will be a little bit of a difficulty from the judiciary's perspective, from the legal community's perspective, and from the education's perspective, because every institution will now have to teach not only the older ones, but also the new ones. The ones who are now currently starting in their first year may have a comparative analysis of both things. So this becomes a little bit of an important as well as a little bit of a tricky subject to understand. But don't worry, as I told you in the start of the session as well, I will be helping you out with a good document that makes you understand the comparative analysis as well as the new introduction of the things that have been added to these three legislation. But then, to look at it from a futuristic perspective, this is a very good change that has come into picture that shall help the legislation, the government, the judiciary, and the people at large in a very good manner. So, there is one question that has been asked with regards to miscellaneous crime case. Are you trying? So Kanika, can you please ask in a better manner? I'm not able to understand your question. There's one more question that is being asked, ma'am. What about the states which are objecting these laws? These laws come at a large, so no state can bar from not implementing these laws. This will be implemented nationwide. So that's one thing. Apart from this, any other questions that you have? Yes. So let's try to limit the session with the let's try to limit our questions as per the session itself. Yes. So coming to the end of the session, more or less to give you a crux again, we will see this thing that we have some legislations. The new sections that we have seen are gender neutral from the perpetrator's angle. New implementation of things like mob lynching, false promise to marry, gang rape of women under age of 18, mob lynching, organized crime, terrorist activities. All of these things have come into picture. Apart from that, we are also trying to see that there is a replacement somewhat similar from section 124A of IPC to now new section of 150 of BNSS. Apart from this, as I told you, the idea for the new one is, but the idea with this new legislation is to bring in justice and not with the idea of danda. So there's this one question, ma'am, what about the cases which are in investigation but the court has not taken cognizance of it? The crimes that have taken place earlier to 1st of July 2024 shall be in the IPC ambit itself, and crime taking place from today shall be from, shall be governed, or shall be, basically the idea will be with regards to BNS, BNSS and BSA. So coming to the end of the session, I request you all not only to like, share and subscribe to the session, but also share it with all your friends who would genuinely want to know about the 3 new criminal laws. And this session becomes important for not only, again, the aspirants who are trying to prepare for it, but for everyone in general. So make sure you're sharing it with everyone. I'll see you all in the next video. Till then, bye-bye. Take care. All the best for your preparation.